A legend began spreading in the 13th century of a monk who made a deal with the devil to save his own skin. The story begins in what is now known as the Czech Republic. According to the legends, the monk had been condemned by his peers for a serious infraction of the monastery rules. They intended to sentence him to be walled up inside of a room. That punishment entails 4 walls and a ceiling being built around the condemned with no doors and no exit. The judged would then be forced to go through the suffering of starvation, dehydration, and mental degradation, all while existing in a black, lightless room. Fearing his sentence, he pleaded with his peers to give him one last chance to save his bodily life. He offered to make a copy of the Bible and several other scholarly works in a single night by hand, a feat so astonishing that it would make the monastery a site for future pilgrimages. The monk requested that if he succeeded in his task, he would be set free. The other monks agreed to his impossible trial and let the man settle down to start his work. The monk diligently wrote as fast as humanly possible, but time was catching up to him. He knew he would never be able to complete his task before morning. The monk pleaded to God for help and received no answer. In desperation, near the hour of midnight, the monk began praying to something else, something far darker, and that something had listened. The devil himself was said to have appeared before the tainted man, answering his unholy call. The deal that was reached between the formerly holy man and the prince of hell was that the devil would write the book in return for 2 promises. The first was the monk's eternal soul, and the second being a full-page self-portrait of the fallen angel, a final signature made by the devil himself. With terms reached and agreed upon, the pact was sealed. The devil scribbled furiously and yet so elegantly that entire chapters filled up within seconds. By morning, the monk had saved his mortal shell but had given up any chance of ascending to heaven. Whether the monk's peers had felt the unholiness of the devil's Bible lays a mystery. But due to the fact no known pilgrimage was ever made to the monastery and nothing but the legend of the damned monk had spread, it may be safe to say that the still holy monks may have felt something truly evil emanating from the pages of that book. The folktale surrounding the Devil's Bible only scratched the surface of the oddities within its weathered pages. Its dimensions are staggering. It stands 36 inches tall, 20 inches wide, and 9 inches thick. It weighs more than 160 pounds and holds the title for largest medieval manuscript currently known to exist to man. The pages are made of donkey or calf skin, and the first word is written as elegantly as the last, with no known change in writer or change in mood. Those who are skeptical of the legends claim that the book wasn't made in a single night, but rather over the course of centuries. Scholars claim that the fastest it could have been made was over the course of 20 years if the author had written for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Strangely, the first word is written just as clear as the last, with no change in penmanship due to the aging of the author. Stranger still, despite its many unique features, the book is most famous for the portrait of the devil inside. Swedish scholars point out that the picture is distinctive in several different ways. It shows the devil alone. It takes up a full page, and the devil is wearing a loincloth of ermine, which was typically reserved for only royalty at that time. The picture, though horrifying, would have been considered to glorify the devil during that time it was written. Nowhere else had the devil standing in the limelight quite like this Bible. To show him wearing royal clothes, no matter how little, showed a sort of reverence and status to the unholy prince. No explanation to the picture exists within the pages of the Devil's Bible, leading to a host of theories with no answers. In addition, several pages within the Bible had been torn out of the book. Some believe this to be the Devil's Prayer, the same prayer that the mad monk had used to conjure up the devil in the first place. They say that when the monastery was abandoned, the monks, unable to carry the giant tome, had ripped the worst pages from the book in hopes no one would stumble across the most unholy of the texts. The massive tome now currently resides behind a glass wall in a room on the second floor of the National Library of Sweden. The book remains closed and lays in darkness, not to be disturbed by the damaging rays of light outside, and not to be read by any prying eyes. In a sense, the book had been condemned to the same punishment that was intended for the very monk that was said to write it, walled off in a dark room with no chance of escape. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It'd mean a lot to me. And as always, until next time.